minutes past 6. Stephanie, Laura, do you guys think that we should go ahead and get started?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. Laura, do you want to maybe start with the introductions?
Sure. My name is Laura Biggs. I'm the city engineer for the city of Evanston, and I would like to welcome all of you to the third public meeting for the Evanston Skate Park. With us, we actually have an additional staff, City of Evanston staff member, the project manager. So Stephanie, I will let you introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're very appreciative of your time. My name is Stephanie Levine, and I am Senior Project Manager with the Public Works Agency. And I'm the individual that's going to help to shepherd this project from design to construction. So I'm here hopefully to help. I am going to turn it over to our very capable design team, which is led by Jody Mariano with Tesca Associates. Jody is going to walk us through a presentation this evening. She's going to explain a lot about the project, kind of how this Zoom webinar is going to work. And hopefully we can get some really great feedback from you all this evening. So Jody, turning it over to you.
Super. Thank you, Stephanie. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jody Mariano. I'm Principal Landscape Architect with Tesca Associates, and I'm going to introduce my team here in a moment. But we are so thrilled to have this opportunity to work with Evanston and with you all on this great project. So tonight we have a presentation for you. We're going to talk a little bit about our team and the group that we're working with, our advisory group. We'll give you some introductions to the project, a little bit about what we've seen about the site and what we've heard from the outreach that we've done to date. And then we have 3 different concepts that we'll be presenting to you this evening. And so you'll see a presentation of those things by us and by our skate park designer. And then we'll be taking a break from Zoom to do a workshop activity. And you can do this workshop activity using your smartphones, using your computer, by opening another screen. So we're asking you to stick around and keep your devices handy, because we really want your input on those 3 concepts. It will help us as we make advancements towards the next phase of work. And then we will have a Q&A at the end of all of that, where we are happy to field any questions that you all might have. So a couple of things about the virtual public meeting. As I mentioned, tonight we'll have the presentation, then we'll have an input activity. Everybody will be muted, and we're asking you all to please use the Q&A function to submit your questions. So please don't use the chat. Please do use the Q&A. Everybody's questions and ideas are very valid and very important to us. This is a public space, and we want to make sure that the public space that is designed is well suited to the public, and that is you guys. So this is really important that we hear your comments. We will be recording all comments, and it will be part of the meeting record. We are also recording this meeting so that this meeting could then be viewed by others who may not have been able to make it to the meeting. We're asking everyone to respect one another, your opinions and your perspectives. And as I mentioned before, stick around for the end for the input activity, because that is fun, and it's also important for us to hear your thoughts. So we've already heard about the city's team. Our team, Tesca Associates, is the lead consultant. Tesca is a community planning and landscape architecture firm. We've been in Evanston since 1975. I wasn't there then, but I've been there about 20 years. And we are joined by Spone Ranch Skate Park Designers out of California, and Christopher Burke Engineering, also out of Evanston. So I'm going to let my teammates that are here tonight introduce themselves. Heather, you want to start?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Heather Favor. I'm a landscape architect and a senior associate with Tesca Associates. I like to work on public place projects and parks particularly.
Thank you. And then from Spone Ranch, we have Adam joining us. Adam?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. I'm with Spone Ranch Skate Parks. My name's Adam. I work in the design and development side. I work closely with Vince Onell, who is the lead on this project. He unfortunately can't be with us this evening, so I'm going to take his place, and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Adam. And Martin is our teammate from Christopher Burke. He's not with us this evening, but we have been working very closely with him, and you'll probably be seeing him in future meetings. So the other part of our team is our Fearless Advisory Group. We have been so fortunate to work with this great group of folks made up of local wheeled sports enthusiasts and businesses in the area. Some of these folks are young skaters, some are older skaters, BMX bikers, inline skaters, all sorts of different wheeled sports. We also have folks who are parents of young skaters. So we have a pretty wide range of expertise on our advisory group, and they have been helping to guide us about the skate park design and have been helping us prepare for the meeting this evening. So a little bit about the project. There are a whole host of activities that took place in 2021 before Tesca Associates came online, and those things are listed here. There were a couple of public meetings. There was a very well-attended survey, a meeting with the council, and all of those activities and events that took place back then have all really led us to where we are today. We have a real project that we are able now to take through concept design, and then it will go into construction documents and it will get constructed, assuming that we keep on track and keep with our schedule. That is the intent of this project. So we are here in February of 2022. We are here to present the 3 initial concepts. After tonight, we are going to go back to work and take the input that we hear and come back to you all with a next public meeting where we'll present 2 refined concepts, get more input, and then we'll come back to you all for another public meeting in May, and that will be our final concept. Once we have that final concept in May, our team will get busy putting together some construction documents. We will work with the city to go through their bidding and negotiations to award a contractor to build this park. And then the anticipated construction period would take place generally between March and November of 2023. And the following year, we will conduct a warranty review once the skate park is constructed. So our meeting schedule just broken down a little bit more detailed here, but this is just our concept phase. So here we are with our initial concepts. As I mentioned, we'll be presenting 2 refined concepts in April and then 1 final concept in May. Some goals about the project. The goals are to construct an in-ground custom concrete skate park at the eastern end of Twiggs Park, and also to accommodate some additional features as we hear from the public input. Things that we're thinking about include a shade structure, site furniture, lighting, portable toilets, drinking fountain, drainage systems, pathways, signage, and landscaping. We are working in an existing park setting, and so we might need to modify some existing park features in order to accommodate the skate park. And also we know that there is an eroded and unstable embankment adjacent to the North Shore Channel, just to the north side of this park. And I'll show you some more about that. So that is also something that needs to be addressed within this project. And then finally, the city is looking to also plan for a future restroom facility. We know that these skate parks get quite a lot of use. People need to get rest and get water. And so we want to make sure that we make this as comfortable for all users as possible. So a little bit about the project site. Here we are at Twiggs Park. The North Shore Channel is up here on the north side. Green Bay Road is running north-south here. We've got Ashland Avenue in here, and the proposed skate park is this section to the northeast, outlined in magenta. As you all may be very familiar with this site, this is a very busy corner. We've got trains and buses and cars along the roadways, and so it has a lot of great access and great views for the most part. Once you get inside, though, the environment really changes. It's a very well landscaped, nice lush park. Some images are here, and you can see the embankment along the north edge here. We've got a lot of invasive growth. We've got a bike path that winds its way through. We've got some lighting in the park. We've got some bike racks and trash receptacles. Some other images of the interior of the park on a much sunnier, more spring-like day. I wanted to mention a little bit about this embankment conditions along the channel. The snow actually shows it pretty well. So here we are standing in the park, and you can see sections at the top of the slope here that are starting to erode away like this. And that is happening in lots of areas along the top of the slope and also at the bottom of the slope. We have a lot of invasive tree growth. We've got the fence that's broken in parts. We've got tree limbs that have fallen down on top of it. And the city is very interested in restoring this embankment in a way that, one, makes it more stable for the skate park and the other features that we put on top of it, but also this can be a much more nicely landscaped treatment so that the channel can be seen and appreciated. So we've got some examples of what that could look like that I'll show you in a moment. This here is the location of the park outlined here in magenta again. We do have the bike path that's winding through. We know that we've got some utilities. We've got a large water utility that's outlined with this yellow dash here. We've got lighting in the park that's shown with these circles, and we've got a small pathway. So it's an unusual shape, but as Adam and Vince have always said, skate parks are very forgiving for unusual shapes. And so that seems to work well in our case here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the community outreach and what we've heard. We had a poll that was open between January 27th and February 15th. We had 638 folks participate. It was distributed through the city newsletter, through social media. Big thanks to the Evanston Skates Instagram page for promoting this. We were so thrilled to get all of this great feedback. I'm going to share a little bit about what we heard. This is the input, the data results from the poll. Primarily, we heard from people that live here, and people also visit the places that are listed below. We heard from a pretty great cross-section of folks. We were so pleased to have responses from people that are 17 and younger and 18 to 24, but we also heard from all ages. And so great for the park, because we hope it will get used by all ages. We asked how people would plan to get to the skate park in good weather. More likely than less likely, we heard that folks plan to take some form of wheeled transportation, whether they be bikes or skateboards or cars, but we did hear that folks would also walk here and take the bus and use other wheels like skates and scooters. We asked what are the wheels of choice. Skateboards were primarily the wheels of choice, but there were other wheels of choice selected here. And I will say we learned a lot about other wheel types that weren't reflected here. So we'll have another question like that in our activity today so that we can find out more. We asked about the preferred ratio of street to transition. For those that aren't aware, transition generally means things like bowls. And so we heard that for the most part, a 50% street to 50% transition was preferred. And then we asked folks to rank imagery. We heard from regarding bowl images that generally the medium depth bowl was preferred. That's option 2. The shallow depth is option 1. I will say also in the discussions we've had with our advisory group, we've talked about bowls that have a little bit of medium and a little bit of shallow, and Adam can speak to that a little bit more. We looked at ledges, and the ledge images that were preferred are shown here, primarily option 3 and option 2. Nice wide ledges. I understand that 4 foot wide is a preferred width. Rail images are here, and option 2 was the rail image that was most preferred. We will get into more specifics about round rails and flat rails and all sorts of rail shapes, but options 2 and 3 were ranked most highly. We asked about steps, and option 3 ranked highly here, followed by options 2 and 1 were kind of neck and neck, but people generally like straight steps is what we've heard from the advisory group as well. When asked about wedge images, generally people liked options 3 and 2 the best. These are all pretty similar, we realize. And then we asked folks to rank the preferred skate park features, and bowls were ranked number 1, followed by wedges and ramps, steps and ramps, and then ledges and rails 4th. We also asked about the importance of other park features, and you can see what was kind of bubbling to the top were things like lighting, shade structure, drinking fountain, followed by these other items here. I will say we did ask the question about fencing. Fencing has consistently ranked very low, and so you will not see fencing shown in the concepts that we present this evening. But we appreciate all of the feedback about that. We also asked open-ended questions. We asked people just to write to us, what is your vision for the skate park? We synthesized all of that input that we heard, and a summary of that is here. Basically, a desire to make sure that the skate park accommodates, somebody said this, all ages, all skills, all wheels. And I thought that was a great way to say it. But we've got skateboarders, longboarders, roller skaters, inline skaters, BMX bikers, which are different than regular bikers, and also scooters. Providing safe and accessible routes, good access, mellow transitions was desired. Making sure that it's well lit and accommodating of nighttime uses, no dark spots in the skate park. Well-placed obstacles that support really good flow. We heard a lot about flow, and so we're taking that to heart as we think about these concepts. A bowl was always desired, plus combinations of street plaza style features. Places for activity and places to watch and rest. There are skate parks throughout the area, and so we heard a lot of comments about making sure that this skate park is different, that it's unique to Evanston, that it's different than other skate parks. So that's something that we really appreciate. Including amenities such as shade, water fountain, bathrooms, and landscaping, making sure that it's durable and maintainable. And then lastly, Evanston has a really great community of skaters, very advanced skaters, a lot of young skaters, old skaters, but this is a great opportunity to bring everybody together, and people were very excited about that. And then we asked what else we should focus on. So quality construction, as we move into construction, making sure that the contractor is aware and capable to make these smooth transitions and surfacing and getting all of those things right. Good drainage is certainly important. So we've got our engineers on the team to help assist with that. Incorporate art and consider working with local artists. We heard some great comments and suggestions about providing things like repair tools that could be potentially tethered to some element in the skate park, first aid kits, an emergency notification station. These are all things that are great ideas to think about. Skate parks are typically full of concrete, and we heard a lot of comments about adding more trees and landscaping so that we offset the loss of our green space. We heard comments about programs such as classes and competitions and outdoor concerts. So it's a great comment. Programming is not part of what we're doing as far as this design and construction documentation work, but these are certainly things to continue to think about and to talk about. And we would encourage the skate park community and the community at large to help with these things. Same thing with food truck events, that kind of fits into programming, but again, a great idea. It's something that will bring life to the skate park. And then just to continue the outreach, keep asking people, keep involving folks in the way that this place gets developed. So based on what we heard from the poll, based on what we heard talking with our advisory group, I wanted to show some imagery about the types of elements that we are considering. So as far as medium and shallow bowls, these are some images that describe some of these things. You will see one of our skate park concepts will show a beginner bowl option that looks something like what's at the top left. It's called a noping bowl because it's very shallow and it doesn't have a coping. So it's a shallower bowl that's more conducive for younger or less advanced skaters, I should say. Ledges, we've heard that ledges should be low and wide. They should provide a grind ledge. People really like mani pads. As far as rails, we heard that they should have solid flat grind rails. We should definitely accommodate a slappy curb and provide a variety of rail shapes in the park. As far as steps and ramps go, straight was preferred. A desire for street style features was preferred. And of course, a place for people to watch and to rest. As far as wedges and ramps go, A-frames were desired. Also a desire to accommodate the less advanced skaters who may not be able to navigate the cutouts that we have here in this image on the red side. And then these are not images that came out of the poll, but we wanted to offer up some other comments about aesthetics and what we can do to make this skate park really stand out and look different from other places. On the left, we have so many surfaces in a skate park that are vertical surfaces that don't get skated on. These could be surfaces that have some sort of treatment, like a mural treatment or a paint treatment. We could also consider an integrated color for the skate park surface where people will be skating. Because it's integrated, it's a little bit less vibrant, but still can provide some interest to the concrete. Structures. We know that a shade structure is important to this park, and so we've got a few different options here that we'll be asking you about in the poll to weigh in on, but these range from a cantilevered structure like you see at the top two with either full shade or dappled shade. On the bottom, you see a pergola as an example that doesn't have as much shade, or a four-post structure that is full shade. And then we also have shade sail structures, which would be those fabric type of structures on the right. And then furnishings. Since we're going to have this concrete skate park, we have been exploring different types of concrete or precast concrete furnishings like low, long seat walls or other elements that could be skated upon, or they could just provide casual seating and separation between the skate park and its surroundings. And then here you'll see these are the Evanston standard park features that you'll find in other Evanston parks. The bike racks and the light pole that you see on the left, I think is already in Twiggs Park, so we'll want to provide those accommodations. Typical drinking fountain, trash and recycling. These are all things that we would expect to include as well. Okay, a little bit about the embankment stabilization. So this is the area that has this embankment. Again, the embankment, of course, follows the entire channel, but we're only looking at the area within our skate park site. So everything within this magenta area is our skate park site. The area within yellow is where this slope is. And as I mentioned earlier, the slope is not in great condition. We have invasive plantings, we've got erosion on the slopes. And so we're looking at concepts to reconstruct the slope and provide something that is a little bit friendlier, more native, more inclusive of native plantings, lower profile so that we can safely see the water and provide a much more stable slope to the channel. Okay, with that, I am going to transition this to our concept presentation. So I'm going to ask Heather to speak to Concept A.
Hi, thanks, Jody. So we have 3 concept plans, and they each approach the site kind of by treating the bike path differently. So for concept A, the site is arranged by having the bike path swoop around to the north of the skate park. And so with this concept, we have a new plaza area at the east entrance that aligns with Noyes Street, and that connects to a connection to the existing parking lot. And here we've located the comfort area and drinking fountains. And this is one of the entrances to the skate park is right here by Noyes. And then the other entrance is at the west end where we have lots of bike parking and other amenities. And you can enter near the shade structure. And that also connects back up to the bike path.
Great. And then we're going to look more closely at the skate features themselves. Adam, do you want to speak to the skate park?
Sure. So we'll start at the east entrance, and I'll just kind of work counterclockwise. As you come into the park, you're at a specific grade. It's a little it's the higher grade. You'll see a bank ramp. Then if you continue around, you'll see the bowl. You basically is the shallow end of the bowl, and then you drop into like the lower section or the deeper end of the bowl. The deeper end has that pump bump or pump hump in it. Continue around, you'll be at the top of a bank ramp that brings you down into the lower elevation. That is wrapped and connected by a quarter pipe. And then if you continue down that bank ramp, you'll run through a A-frame section, has a little mani pad and a rail and a ledge on it. And then the shade section at the bottom, or the west end there, you'll also see that volcano bank feature with a mani pad. And if you continue around below that, you'll see a flat bar and a ledge, grind ledge, and then a quarter pipe section with a hipped bank essentially. And then back towards that entry area that we came in on, you'll see a grind ledge. You wouldn't be riding it in that direction, you'd be riding it from the top down, but yes, that would be the extent of that design.
So this is generally a pretty flat area, and we're going to be creating a whole lot of topography when we build this thing. We've cut sections just to kind of explain, what that looks like. And so for each of these, you'll see there's a site plan at the top right here that shows where our section cut is cut across. And this little diagram here shows the features of the park. So this is Ashland Avenue. We've got the bike path here on the north side. And then I don't know, Adam, you want to speak to the skate park features?
Yeah, sure. This is a great view because it gives you an idea of what some of the elevations that we'll be seeing. But yeah, again, starting on the west side, shade structured seating area, it's kind of a flat area. You'll see that volcano and mani pad feature, and you can kind of see that it's not it's a nice height, but it's not overwhelming. Another flat area that leads you to the bowl via a quarter pipe. And then you can see that the bowl has, this is actually the cross section through probably the deep end, with the pump. So the shallow end would be less depth, obviously. And then the deck back on to the west side there.
Thank you.
East side, pardon me.
It's all good. And so before I go to the next one, just because we're going to talk about these later when we do the activity, just to kind of reiterate, concept A has the bike path running on the north side of the park. The other concepts have the bike path in different locations. So just wanted to point that out before we get to the next one. Okay, I'm going to go to concept B. Heather?
Thank you. So for concept B, we are keeping the bike path as it is in connecting with the existing plaza at the east as it is. And so we have the skate park area split into two halves or two parts. The top north part is the larger skate park that would be for more advanced skaters. And then the second skate park towards the south is intended to be more for beginners. So that's where we're showing that noping bowl that Jody referenced earlier. And both of these areas are connected to the bike path and then have secondary paths that connect back to the parking lot. Along the secondary path, we have amenities like bike parking, bike repair station, drinking fountain, and then a comfort area right next to the parking lot.
Great. Adam?
Yeah, so again, we'll enter through the main plaza, and we'll head into the more advanced section first. And you'll come in at grade essentially, and to the right, we'll go counterclockwise again. We'll talk about the a flat down grind rail. So essentially, you'd be starting at the top and then grinding down. Next to that would be a mani pad to the bank. Yep, and then continuing around, you'll have the bank ramp, and then up top you'll have the pool deck or the bowl deck, and of course you'll have the shallow end of the bowl, and then waterfall down into the deeper end with the pump hump at the bottom down there. And then we'll continue around. There's a bank down, but we're calling out the quarter pipe that basically brings the transition from low grade to high grade. And then down at the back at the lower grade, you'll have the volcano. and a series of street features, a grind ledge and a flat grind rail. Again, you'll have the shade structure to the west, and that kind of caps off the advanced area. Let's drop into the less advanced area. And again, you'll enter in and there'll be a beginner or a noping bowl. And to the below that would be the slappy curb that is hugely popular.
Thank you. And I should
That's
also
about it.
point out that there's a couple other features that we didn't mention yet, but you see these double white lines here. That would be a seat wall. So that would be a concrete wall. It provides a place for people to sit, also provides protection so we don't have people kind of, dashing into the skate park directly from the bike path. It provides some separation. So you'll see that in this location. Also, you see it here underneath the shade structure. Okay, let's go to the section drawing. So again, same as before, section B, we've got the bike path going through the middle. And so here is our section cut. Ashland Avenue is down here on our right. We've got the bike path in the middle, which is this guy here in the plan, bike path in the middle. And then we've got the access path that takes us to the parking lot here. That's this access path here. Adam, you want to speak to the skate park?
Sure. Again, so we'll start from left to right, and we'll start in the beginner area. But the shade structure obviously gives you some scale, gives you an idea of how the heights and whatnot. The noping bowl or the beginner bowl is rather shallow, and then the slappy curb is just pretty much a standard 6-inch tall curb. Continuing over to the advanced area, you'll have again another shade structure that we're familiar with. The volcano, you can get kind of an idea of scale and height, and that will drop you back over to that quarter pipe that brings you up to the bowl deck. And then again, it shows you, in this case, this is showing us this is part of the shallow and deep ends together, but it gives you an idea of what kind of transition we're working with.
Great,
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we've gotten through 2 of them. We've got 1 to go. So far, we've looked at concept A, which had the bike path at the top in the north. We had concept B, which has the bike path in its existing location in the middle. And here we are going to look at concept C, which has the bike path at the south end. Heather, take it away.
Yeah, so there we have the bike path at the south end. So it's a new bike path, but it connects to the existing plaza that's at Noise. And so we have a plaza pedestrian area off the north edge of the bike path where we'll have amenities like bike racks, repair stations, drinking fountain, the comfort area. And then this gives us an entrance right into the skate park. You'll enter right at the shade structure. And then, there's also a nice access path connecting this space to the parking lot.
Thank you. Okay. All right, Adam.
So again, we'll start at the plaza, working our way through the new access path and into the entrance from the south end. And we'll start at grade and we'll work counterclockwise, and immediately you'll notice a grind ledge and a flat bar. Perfect location for that. And we'll work our way up the embankment, possibly a quarter pipe. We're going backwards. Again, you would not be riding it in this direction. You'd be going from the top down, but that is the flat grind rail. And then up top, the bowl that we're familiar with, looking at, I think we might have the depths, but who knows, but we don't know exactly how this is going to turn out. But we have the shallow bowl with the pump hump, and then the deep end bowl. Continuing around the pool deck, you'll see a mani pad up top. And again, I just noticed the seating area that kind of like binds everything together. So that's something to point out right now. Yep. Mm-hmm. A quarter pipe brings you from the low grade to the high grade, or the pool deck. So that's called out right there. You have a bank ramp down, perfect flow. So you can continuously run through this entire park. Back down at the grade, you'll have the volcano. And then back up top to another like higher level via an embankment. You have a mani pad up top. Looks like we have a slappy curb on top right there. That's perfect. And then a mani pad right below it. And then a down grind rail. So there's a lot of possibilities with that feature. And then of course, to the west, you'll have your shade structure with some seating underneath it as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And then finally, our last section. So again, just like the others, a section is cut through here, kind of parallel to the channel. We've got Ashland Avenue on our right down here. We've got the bike path down here on our left. This section actually happens to capture the comfort area and the portable toilet, which is this little structure here. And then Adam, do you want to start again from the shade structure?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So again, shade structure with shows you a sense of scale, and note the seating underneath. And then moving from left to right, we'll talk a little bit about that flat bar, that flat grind rail near the entranceway. And you'll have a volcano. So again, you can see kind of like the height in scale. And then that drops back down to grade again. And then a quarter pipe brings you up to the pool deck. And in this cross section, we're actually seeing, looks like both of the depths of the bowl. So you'll see the deep end with the pump, and then the shallow end with the basically with a flat bottom. And then a mellow quarter pipe back up to the top of the pool deck. I don't think I went through every tag properly, but I kind of just rode through it like as if I was skating it.
You got it. Thank you. No, that's great. All right, super. So we've gotten through our three concepts. At this point, we're going to transition to a workshop. So this is where we get to get your input about the things that we've just shared. And so we're asking everybody to please grab your device. Could be your smartphone. It could be another computer screen. If you have the ability to use a smartphone, that would be preferred so that you can keep an eye on everybody's responses on the screen that I'll be sharing here. So I'm going to switch my screen, so bear with me. But in the meantime, we're asking for everybody to go through your regular browser. It could be Google or Chrome or any of that, and log on to www.menti.com. It's spelled MENTI.com. I am going to switch my screen, and and while I do that, just bear with me. Okay, so if you've gotten to the menti.com website, it's going to prompt you for a code. And the code is up here at the top of this slide, and it's going to be at the top of every slide in the event that maybe you get kicked out of it, but you shouldn't. If you do, here's the code. The code is 17752508. So we'll give folks just a minute to get situated here. I can see people starting to come in. I see that we have 46 people in the meeting, which is awesome. And so we'll give people a minute, and thank you for joining and for all the hearts. I can see you guys coming in here. So this is great. While we're waiting for everyone to get situated here, just a couple of things about Mentimeter. So this is a Mentimeter poll. This is kind of similar to for those of you who took the poll that was online earlier. It's a very similar format. I'm going to be running all of the slides and asking you to respond to questions. As you respond, after you click your selections, please be sure to click the submit button. That will enter your response into the poll. And then I will advance my slides, and it should advance automatically on your device. If for some reason you get kicked out or you need to refresh, you can do that. You can always go back to menti.com and enter the code, and you should be able to pick up right where we left off. So no worries that way. Okay, it looks like we're getting more people come in here. I'm going to go ahead and advance to the first slide. Okay, this is kind of a test, but we want to make sure everybody has a chance to get in. So we're just calling this the virtual sign-in sheet. So please add your name and click submit. Wonderful. we really prefer to do these things face to face, but instead of doing that, since we can't do that right now, this has become really helpful. And we appreciate you guys doing this with us. See more people coming in, 35, 36, wonderful. Great. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. Okay, so this is an adaptation of a question that you've probably answered before, but just so that we know who's kind of here with us tonight, we're asking, what are your wheels of choice? Skateboards, longboards, bikes, BMX bikes, inline skates or roller skates, scooters, wheelchairs. And if you're like me and you don't skate, you don't have a wheel, you just like to watch, you can select that as an interested community member. Looks like a lot of skateboarders and longboarders, but also some of the others. So that's wonderful. And we see that there's some questions coming into the Q&A, and feel free to keep them coming in. We're going to go ahead and get to those right after we get through this activity. Okay, great. Thank you. So we're going to first ask some questions about, we're going to ask questions about each concept. We're going to start with concept A. So as a reminder, concept A is a contiguous skate park. It has the bike path at the north side, just like you see here. And we'd like to ask you to tell us in a sentence or two, what do you like or what do you not like about this concept? And I realize it takes a few minutes for everyone to kind of register their input. The flow, thank you. While people are typing, I neglected to mention this, and Adam, feel free to jump in here, but we didn't talk about, it was on there, but I didn't really say it. The square footage that we're looking at for these skate parks, all of them are in the range of 10,000 square feet. For anybody that's been to the Deerfield skate park, that is, what is it, Adam, approximately 9,500?
Yeah, it's less than this. It's between, I think it's around 85 to 95.
Got it.
And there's a little gray area with the access path and shade structure at Deerfield too. So the actual skatable surface could actually be less.
So depending on the configuration we choose, this will look about the same or slightly larger.
That's correct. Probably larger.
These are very helpful. And I especially like the comments about, you know, someone would rather see a pyramid with ledges instead of a volcano. So keep those ideas in mind. We are going to have a question in a couple of slides that will ask you all to rank those types of detailed skate park features. More flat features. Quick access from parking lot and sidewalks. Yes, this is great. And these inputs will also be posted to the website after this. So don't feel like you have to memorize everything that you're saying. Were you going to say something, Adam?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm looking at some of the questions, and I know we're going to get into them in a second, but somebody had asked about the pink section. The pink section actually shows the shade structure. That is actually the shaded structure itself. It's not a transition or a bank or anything like that. So
thank you for saying that. Yes, that's correct. That is a shade structure. Okay, thank you for these comments on concept A. Let's go to concept B. So as a reminder, concept B has beginner and advanced skate parks that are separated by the existing bike path. So our beginner skate park is here on the left, and our more advanced skate park is here on the right. So just like for concept A, tell us what you like or what you don't like about about this one. And just as a reminder, while you're doing that, what we're going to be doing after this meeting today is taking all of this input and trying to take the best things that people liked about these and leaving the things that people didn't like and creating 2 new concepts that will be an adaptation. The volcano doesn't need to be there. Love the beginner bowl. Yeah, we thought that Noping bowl was pretty unique. We looked online and didn't see a lot of them. So this could be something pretty unique to Evanston. It looks like a lot of people like the Noping bowl. Do potential future restrooms go where a porta potty is shown? That is a great question. Not necessarily. We are looking into the code requirements for a restroom building, taking into account things like access to sewer and water and other maintenance requirements. And so we don't yet know where the future restroom would go, but we hope to have that information for the next public meeting. Could be great for promoting new riders. And here's another comment that doesn't like separating the skaters. It's definitely a different approach. Maybe add some more features in the beginner area. That Noping bowl takes up a lot of space. Adam, is that the optimum size for a Noping bowl?
I think that the idea was to maximize the space, but I mean, there's a lot we can do with that.
Sure.
You know, bend it maybe. I mean, this is maybe just like a very safe concept of a Noping bowl.
Yeah.
But we can play around with it a little bit. You definitely want to have something that's going to allow you to drop in, pump around a few times, get enough speed. So that's always taken into consideration, and that affects the size, obviously.
I do see a couple of comments here about, concerns about the bike path and its proximity to the skate parks. And one thing to point out is that, here we have the bike path coming through here. There is this section where people would be moving between the skate parks. And so the proposal would be to use a pavement treatment of some sort that would slow people down, both bikers and walkers and also skateboarders or wheeled sports users, to kind of treat this area as a slow zone, and also to separate the bike path from the skate parks with things like these seat walls, landscape plantings, to try and create this separation. But we agree that is the main challenge with this. And so we really appreciate your comments here. Okay, let's go to the next one. I could read these all day, but I know we have to keep moving here. Okay, concept C, contiguous skate park with the bike path at the south. So here we are with our skate park up at the north side. We've got the shade structure here. We've got the bowl and the other features that Adam mentioned. And then also we've got our bike path and our plaza at the south. So just like the other one, tell us what you like or don't like about this concept. By far the best one. Thank you. The volcano is out of place. Yeah, maybe we can get more into the volcano comments in the Q&A. Great flow, like the flow. These are very helpful. The entrance might get too busy. That's an interesting comment. That's definitely something to think about. It still needs more on the left. Best flow of the 3. Lots of ledges is great. That's good. This person really likes pyramids more than volcanoes. I'll have to look at a pyramid. I don't know that I know exactly what that looks like yet. It needs an open bowl. I wonder, would an open bowl ever get integrated into a regular bowl, or is that the kind of thing you'd want to separate?
I mean, it could, and in some precedents and in designs, they'll actually, make one side of a bowl noping, and allows the
Oh.
beginners to kind of just roll in a little easier as opposed to just dropping it. So that's something that can definitely be looked at.
That's a good one. This is great. Lots of very supportive comments for this option C. So thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, let's keep moving here so we can get to your Q&As. Couple other things. Okay, so we're just going to ask you, based on what you've seen and what you've thought about for each of the concepts, if you had to pick your favorite one, which one would you choose? I feel like I almost know what this is going to be based on comments, but people generally like concept C, it looks like.
This is like watching the sausage race at Miller Park.
Right. It's kind of fun. Yep, it looks like concept C is definitely the preferred concept, but I think all these other, we're a little ways away from having just one preferred concept yet, but this is very helpful for us as we kind of move forward. Thank you. Okay, we'd like your input on the shade structure. So you saw those kind of brown blobs throughout the presentation. If you had to pick a shade structure, which one would you select? It looks like definitely people would prefer to have a full shelter as opposed to something that's got openings in it. And you probably all saw that the shelters were generally located at the southwest to provide, kind of optimum sheltering from the afternoon sun. It looks like the cantilevered shelter with full shade is getting the most votes. And the pergola shelter, not so much, which is okay. Sometimes it's nice to know what we should not be considering. Okay, let's keep moving. All right, we have a couple of slides here where we're asking you to rank the features. This first one is asking you to rank the beginner skate park features, and you can kind of click and drag them around after you've kind of assigned numbers to them. You can still drag them to put your highest preferences at the top. And I will say, even though we had concept B, which had a very designated, beginner here and advanced here, even if it was a contiguous skate park, which it might be, we would still want to designate an area for beginners. So this will be very helpful for whichever skate park concept we end up moving forward with. It looks like the mani pad is pretty popular, followed by the noping bowl. Noping Bowl is holding steady is number 1, followed by the mani pad. And then the grind ledge. I was sure the slappy curb was going to be higher up. Surprise. And the flat bar. Thank you. This is very helpful. Okay, we're going to ask the same question. Oh, it's still going. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. We're going to ask the same question now for the intermediate and advanced skate park features. We have admittedly a few more features in this one, so I realize it's more to get through, but I feel like now that we know more about the different types of features that people would like, having a ranking for these will be really helpful for us to kind of get to the next phase of concept design.
Looks like Eric voted. Oh, just kidding.
Sometimes, depending on people's Wi-Fi, it takes a minute or so for it to kind of get going. Well, the bowl and the pump hump and the quarter pipe seem to be highly prioritized. I'd be interested to know more about the volcano. And I think, Adam, what was the other one that was coming up? Was it the pyramid? I don't think we have that in here, but we should talk about it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's basically it's just like a pyramid. So you'd have a volcano being round with maybe a flat top, and a pyramid being 3-sided or 4-sided with a flat top.
Got it.
So the banked on 4 sides.
I really like the way that you guys were able to kind of take surfaces like banks and ramps and kind of create other interruptions and things in them, because I feel like it provides so much variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like quarter pipes and bowls and hipped banks and grind ledges are kind of bubbling to the top here, followed by A-frames, mani pads, slappy curbs, grind rails, and poor volcano is down at the bottom.
They get picked on a lot.
All right. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay. Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. So any other features that you'd like to see that you didn't see? I hope somebody will write down pyramid, because it sounds like we heard a lot about pyramids. Are there any other things? And it doesn't have to be just for the skate park features itself. It could also be for other non-skate features, other park amenities or landscape features. What is a 6 stair? Is it 6 steps?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Solar panel shade structure. Yes, thank you. That is something that we have been looking into. I'm glad that that was mentioned. So snake run, I did see a skate park with a snake run, which, tell me, does that take a lot more square footage to accommodate a snake run?
You know, a good functioning snake run would probably take the length of an entire side of the skate park.
Mm. Okay.
But that being said, I mean, it's possible to include parts of a snake run into the design.
This is great. I do see a comment here about increasing the size of the skate park. And it's something that we can certainly talk about more in the Q&A. I don't know if other questions have come in. We are planning for a 10,000 square foot skate park. That is governed primarily by our budget, but also we need to be mindful of the detention. We are adding so much more impervious space to this landscape here, which is controlled by the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And that includes requirements for how much impervious we can add without adding a bunch of additional detention features like underground pipes and other things. And so that could potentially add a lot more cost to the project. And so for those reasons, we are working with a 10,000 square foot skate park size. That said, we're still investigating it further, and it's certainly appreciated that we're hearing comments about potentially making it a larger park. Okay, let's move on. Thank you. So this is the last slide, and thanks to everybody for participating. This is really tremendously helpful for us to kind of take this input and quantify it and move to the next phase of concept work. So at this point, we are going to go back to the Zoom Q&A, and we are going to ask Heather to tell us what questions you have.
Yeah, so the first couple of questions address kind of bidding and construction. So Michael Hoff asks, what can the planning team and or city do to ensure that this design is executed by a highly qualified specialty skate park builder so that the end result is the best quality and most valuable for our community? And he's specifically asking about requests for qualifications and bid specs. So I think Laura might be the best to answer that, but
I mean, I can step in on that too. The plan, thank you for bringing that up. We are aware of that. We realize that the concrete construction is really critical to having a successful skate park. What we are planning to do is to go through a pre-qualification process to select a contractor. So this is not going to be a low bid process. We are going to require contractors to submit their qualifications to us and prove that they are capable and that they can actually construct this project properly. And we will only allow contractors that meet that qualification the opportunity to bid on the project.
So like, for instance, we might say it's got to be a contractor who can prove that they have constructed a similar skate park or so many skate parks in the last so many years, for instance, right?
Yes, and the design team, will set the standards that the contractor has to meet. So it's not going to be your typical process, and we're not going to proceed with the project until we find somebody that a team that can execute this for us. So we certainly hope that will address that issue, because we are, like I said, we're aware, we've been made aware many times that it is really critical. So we want to make sure we do this right.
another question about the contractor and the construction is about the warranty period. Specifically asking, why does it take a year? I think this just requires a simple explanation about what the warranty period is.
Yeah, I think that's probably just a misunderstanding. Basically, what I think Jody's showing to you all there is we're hoping to finish the project around November of 2023 and open it. Now, I know that's not the ideal time of year to start skating, but unfortunately, we need to build this during good weather. That's part of what's probably going to help us get good concrete. What we do is we open the park and it's going to be used. And just before our projects have generally a 1-year contractor warranty. That's really typical in the construction industry. And so before the warranty expires, the design team comes back and reviews the project in detail to look for any problems that may have come up during the first year of operation, so that we make sure we get those items corrected before the warranty period expires. So the park is going to hopefully be open, in the fall of 2023. So the 2024 warranty review is not really anything that any of you folks will need to worry about. We'll just come out there and look at the site. Hopefully we don't have any problems, but if we do, we're going to get them fixed.
So here's a question about scope. Questioning just having the existing parking lot. Will we need more parking space?
I will go ahead and take a stab at this one. So the existing parking lot currently is a free parking lot that is city owned and would be available for people to utilize. But it is also hoped that a lot of skateboarders, by centrally locating this facility, will be able to reach the facility, not driving, but using bicycle or skateboard to get there. It's generally the city of Evanston policy that we only supply limited parking anyway for a lot of our parks and facilities, because we're trying to encourage non-motorized vehicle access to the parks and facilities that we have. And if we spend money on parking, then we're going to reduce the amount of money we spend on a skate park. And that's in nobody's interest. In addition, a substantial addition to the parking lot would very much require stormwater detention. The city code is very clear about that. And so the cost really starts adding up and almost exponentially once we do that. But
And I could-
oh, go ahead.
I would say, I could just piggyback onto that to say that that's consistent with what we heard in the poll, that most people thought they would bike or ride to get here. Sorry, Laura, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. So, I mean, that was some of the thinking that went into it. And I think given our budget limitations, but also our own city plans and policies, such as the Climate Action Resiliency Plan, parking is not going to be the focus of the money that we have to do this project.
So here's a question about, can the seating wall be skated? And I think that is the intention, that any concrete element will be skatable and will be constructed by the same contractor who constructs the skate park. Anything else to add?
Let me just say that as city staff, we are well aware that skateboarders are very creative about finding surfaces to skate. And there does not seem to be a surface out there that doesn't get attempted at least one point or another by a skateboarder. So for our goal, we're trying to build a durable facility. So that is definitely a consideration that we are considering, that all surfaces are ultimately skatable.
Agreed.
Here's a question from Jarrett Dapier, or a comment / question. I love the idea of the park being a spot where a big native pollinator friendly planting surrounds the park. And I also love the idea of the park being painted by artists. Can the city prioritize local artists / muralists of color? So I don't think that's part of this specific contract, but does anyone want to speak more to that?
That is not a part of this contract, but it is something that we are considering, and the city does have just a modest budget every year for public art. That is controlled by the Public Arts Council, Art Commission. And so staff has relatively little control. My observation of working with them on other projects is that is definitely the direction that they tend to head in. And we're currently working on a project to build a new animal shelter, which does have public art as a requirement as part of the budget. And that's what they're looking at, is trying to determine how we get a local Evanston artist to participate in that project.
And I mean, I think we can also, as city staff, I think we can interface with the Public Art Commission and just discuss, this as an opportunity site. We're going to be creating surfaces that could be turned into art. So making them aware of that and trying to, coordinate that as a possible way to, possible integration into the project is something that we can definitely look into.
I have another question that's back to the bidding and contracting aspect of the project. Why does the bidding negotiations process start so far in the future? I can take a stab at that. We need to produce engineered drawings and specs that are totally signed off by the city before we can open bidding, so that all the bidders are looking at the same set of drawings and know what to expect when they're bidding. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take us some time. Once we finish the concept drawings, it's going to take several months to develop the construction documents to a level where a contractor can accurately price the project for construction. And, you'll see that bidding and negotiations timeline is pretty extended. Typically, that's usually about a 3-month period for us, but because we're going to do a pre-qualification, we have to build in a separate step to pre-qualify first, and then to actually go through the bidding process with the pre-qualified group. So everything kind of, I know it looks like it's like a really long time, and it is a really long time, but there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of detail and kind of behind the scenes effort that has to occur to make sure that we get this accurately built for everyone.
So I'm trying to filter out some of the questions that aren't specifically about skate features, so we can get those out of the way before we jump into a broader discussion about skate features. So if you haven't heard your question yet, that's why. So here's a question, or here's a comment. Can the city include more garbage cans than they think is needed? I hate trashy parks. I think we always have the steel trash cans, but there's also additional trash cans that the Parks Department provides. Or sorry, city provides. It's not a Parks Department, but
Actually provided by Public Works.
okay.
And but yes, that is something that we will work with the people that maintain the parks for Public Works, the Greenways crew, to make sure that we have provided adequate sanitation and recycling containers.
So here's a question from Janet Shushinsky. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. What effect would this have on the environment and the community around it? So this might be a question about noise or traffic, those sorts of things.
It's a good question. I mean, one of the nice things about this site, which is very unusual in Evanston, is that we don't have residences immediately adjacent to this project site, which is really part of why or how it got selected. Back in the, I guess, spring, summer of last year, we had our earlier public engagements where we were looking at, well, where are we going to place this? What park does this belong in? And it's hard in Evanston because most of our parks are really integrated into residential neighborhoods. So it's difficult to find a place where there's going to be a lot of activity that isn't going to, be right next to someone's home. And this location is a pretty good for that. And so we hope that that is going to help give the site and the activity that is happening in it some buffer to the neighborhood that's a little bit further away than in most of our other parks.
I'm going to add to that another benefit of this site is that it is accessible by a major arterial street, Green Bay Road, with relatively little traffic on local side streets. It's accessible by a bike path. And in fact, somebody coming from the high school can basically reach the site very easily through just going up Dodge Avenue and then right onto the bike path. And it's accessible by mass transit because there's a bus line that runs along Green Bay Road. And so from generating additional trips or concerns related to can people really access the site, this site is in a sweet spot that just does not usually exist in the city of Evanston. And we feel pretty comfortable that as far as providing an outlet for recreation that's going to occur whether it has a dedicated site or not, that this is actually going to really assist with increasing the amount of recreational opportunities for people who are skaters, which is a benefit, has tremendous health benefits and social benefits, something that we're recognizing is incredibly important coming out of the pandemic.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some questions that are more about the very specific features of the skate park. So Adam, get ready. The first topic is the volcano versus pyramid debate. It seems like some people are not familiar with volcanoes, and that also they might not be useful if they're not surrounded by banks on all sides. Just want to open the floor about.
Sure.
I don't know if I
I'll-
have any good imagery, Adam, but I'll try and pull up something here.
There's one of the Hammond volcano. It's probably a perfect, I don't know if that's not quite it.
Is that in this presentation? I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. Well, let's talk a little bit about it real quick. So first of all, we talked about a volcano being a transition on a circular transition piece with a flat top. Sometimes it can have like a more of a peaked top. But the idea behind the volcano is that it helps redirect your line. So which basically opens up the park to more options. So if you're wanting to go from point A to point B and there's nothing in your way, you just go straight to it. But if you wanted to go to point A to point B, but point B is kind of around the corner, a volcano would actually help get you to that without losing your speed. In fact, you can pump off of it. It also allows you to, some more advanced skaters, to do some tricks or grinds or possibly some ollies or jumps over the volcano. So they're functional and not just not just a structure put there for looks. They actually have a purpose. I did see one comment, I'll address it really quick, about never seeing a volcano at any park ever. There is actually a perfect example of a volcano at the Hessville Park in Hammond that we built a few years ago. And in fact, the entire bottom half of the park is a volcano surrounded by more transition. So that's a good example of it. And it gets skated every time I'm there. It's being used pretty regularly.
I think
Also,
I found it. I can share my screen to show
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Let me.
So it'd be Hessville Park.
I realize this is probably not the best way to do it, but
That's exactly it, right?
is this it?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Do you want? I can point
Yeah.
at things if you want to
Just
just kind of
scroll
explain.
up a little bit. There you go. Yeah.
It's
So
this
exactly.
element.
Yes. So the idea behind that, obviously, not aside from the fact that it really kind of like anchors the park, or that end of the park, it allows you to come in from one lane and direct yourself back out to a different lane, or come up on top. And there's so many different things you can do with that. But that's a perfect example of a volcano. And that actually, this is a rendering of the park, but that park actually is built. Also Deerfield, you got to get a little creative in imagination, but Deerfield actually has 3/4 of a volcano that separates the half pipe or bowl section from the snake run and the street section. So
the difference between a volcano and a pyramid would be that the sides are either sloped or they're flat and pointed. Is that?
Yeah,
fair?
correct. So take the round top of that volcano and make a square, and then take all 4 corners of that square and bank them down to a larger square in the same orientation. And that becomes basically a pyramid. And then you essentially have 4 hips on all 4 sides. There's advantages and disadvantages to everything. Obviously, the advantage with the pyramid is that you have hips to ollie off of or jump over from one side to the next. I don't want to say disadvantage. The challenge would be positioning a pyramid in an abstract shaped park, because you really need to have a direct line to it. If you don't have that direct line to it, it's not being used properly. Let's put it that way. But that being said, I'm not going to say, and again, Vince is the lead designer on this project, so I don't want to overstep, but I mean, there's no reason that can't be looked at.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's very helpful. That's the reason to have these meetings, so we can hear.
In fact, stay on this page. You can see that there's like an embankment with that could be interpreted as a pyramid. It's not the perfect example, but towards the top left section.
Oh,
yeah,
exactly.
up here.
Oh, that's the A-frame. So to the left of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
up
exactly.
here.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's not. I'm sure it's not exactly what was it one of the attendees was thinking of, but again, it could be interpreted that way.
Got it. Okay.
So some of the other questions and comments, there's some questions for more transition and more height, but then there's also some questions and comments about more flat space, and specifically referring to kind of like the generational differences between how people skate, if it's street style versus transitions. We can have a
Sure. I know a little bit about the skate community in the area, and the want and need for transition. I would say that, and I don't want to speak for the community, but I would say that I am part of the community. So Chicago lacks good transition, let's put it that way, in general. So when we have an opportunity to look at a park design, and I'm sure we're going to get comments about more transition. But that being said, that's not to say that we're not listening to the street style skaters that don't really gravitate towards that style of skateboarding. So a good mix, good blend, and I think that the polling shows that. We could look at certain things like different styles of transition, more aggressive transitions in certain areas, to kind of compensate that. One other point I want to make with these early concepts is that it's difficult to kind of gauge scale. You're looking at a park, it looks like a skate park with some features on it, but reality is it's larger than what you might think in your head. So that flat space that's, let's say, to the north west of that bowl is actually massive. Or that entry area down at the bottom with the shade structure underneath is huge. It's much larger than people might think it is. So as we refine the designs, we can definitely look at creating specific zones for flat ground. But I'm sure that would be taken care of, I guess, during the design process.
No, and that's a really good comment about scale. And so, we are here looking at 3 concepts. For our upcoming meetings, we're planning to have 3D models similar to that Hammond example that we were just looking at. And so I think that with, some happy skateboarders and BMX bikers in there might help convey that scale that we're talking about.
Yeah, so lots of these questions are about specific skateboard elements, and I think we can just say that this whole process of getting your feedback with the public online poll and this meeting is we're gathering information and data into what to put into the concepts as we refine them further. So if you don't see your favorite feature now, it might show up later. So just keep telling us what you want. These are early concepts, so we're still gathering information and working on the site plans. Some other comments in here are about having more biodiversity in the landscape. So if we're able to have areas that aren't just mown lawn or more than just flowerless shrubs. So I think that's something that we can look into. It also has to do with how the city can maintain it. Do you have more to add to that, Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we were talking about recently was integrating, features for green infrastructure, which is probably something that's going to be a requirement of our leaseholder, the MWRD. So that includes things like rain gardens and pollinator gardens and things like that. So I think we are going to look for those kinds of opportunities. And I think we're going to be required to integrate things like that. So, and that really just goes along with everything that I think, culturally we're trying to be more conscious of, in terms of, the needs of the planet. I think, if you look right now, we're kind of showing some darker green areas, for example, on this exhibit. Those types of areas, maybe they get expanded, are not mowed lawn. Maybe those are kind of those more native, naturalized areas that kind of perform multiple features. They are there for kind of the insects and of the area, for birds, to help with absorbing water, etc. So I think we will be looking at those opportunities, definitely.
I was muted. Someone specifically asked about having a very unique Evanston element, perhaps a skatable lighthouse or something of that sort. So I think that's something that we're wanting more feedback on and looking towards developing in future concepts. Anything else?
Yeah, no, we don't disagree with that at all. And you've probably caught in some of these earlier images that some of the other skate parks have things like that. And so the lighthouse is a really cool idea. You can see, people are kind of skating over things like large spheres. There's one that had a skater over a wheel or a gear of some sort. So
there's like an orange, I think, California.
Yeah. So yes, for sure. We agree. This should be something that's really special to Evanston. In a way, it kind of is a gateway into Evanston. And so love the lighthouse idea. Keep those things coming. We can look at those for sure.
That skate park at the bottom right with the gear is actually in a Milwaukee suburb of West Dallas.
What's the story behind the gear?
It had something to do with the city. This is before my time, but I think it was, it's Milwaukee, so they're probably industrial.
Sure.
Something.
That's cool.
But yeah,
no,
it's cool. Definitely cool. Yeah.
I think we've gotten through most of the questions that were typed in. Do we have time to have any open mic questions, or should we wrap this up?
It's 7:30, so we have until 8 o'clock.
Okay. So we could ask
Stephanie,
people
Lara,
to-
do you have any thoughts?
No, I think that's fine. How would folks make comments? How do they do that?
So they can raise
So-
their hand. There's the raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen, and I can unmute them first come, first serve. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
sounds good.
absolutely.
Let's
Yeah,
do
for
it.
sure.
I'm going to quit sharing so we can see each other. Okay. Any raised hands, Heather? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I don't see them. Do you?
Oh, yes, I do see them
Oh,
actually.
Oh, I see them
Yeah.
here. Yeah, how about, I'm just gonna go down the list. Okay, so I see a raised hand from Eric, and his last name starts with the letter K. I'm gonna try and unmute you. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, this is Eric Kristofiak. So BMX rider, and I'm half joking. I'm just so excited about this project, but because we are still planning, if there is room for a pump track, could be on a perimeter or something like that. That would be amazing. The closest BMX pump track, well, and skate pump track is down in Big Marsh, down on Chicago's south side. So it's really far. So that would just be a dream for, I'm sure, most BMXers and skaters. They're really fun either way. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And we appreciate it, Eric. I can start and maybe Adam can chime in. Based on our square footage and how much budget we have and detention that we, feel like we need to work within those requirements, adding a pump track would add so much more additional square footage that we hadn't shown it in any of the concepts for those reasons of the requirements by detention, additional detention, and also the requirements by our budget. Adam, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you nailed it essentially, but pump tracks take not the actual rideable surface isn't that much, but the actual footprint of a pump track is like 3 times the amount of skatable surface. So it almost would eat up the entire site just for the sake of having a pump track, or let's just put it in different terms, it would shrink the size of the skatable surface. So I'm not saying no, but I wanted you maybe to put that into perspective a little bit.
Yeah, and thank you, guys. The last thing I want to do is take an inch from these parks. They're amazing, but maybe we could do a 2028 plan for an addition.
Thank you.
you.
And since we're talking about it, I feel like I should mention this too. In the poll, we heard some comments about snake runs at the Jacksonville Beach skate park. And we looked at it, and just for a sense of scale, the Jacksonville Beach skate park, which is amazing, is an acre. And that is about 4 times the size of what we're planning here. And so it's a very cool park, but it just has a lot more square footage than we have available to us, unfortunately. Thank you, Eric. We appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. Michael Hoff. What's your question, Michael?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Thanks for taking my question, and thanks so much for your hard work. Evanston has needed a quality skate park since at least 1976, so this is really amazing. I'm not kidding. I just wanted to ask about the bathroom. The public restroom as a permanent feature is not being planned as part of this design and build. I just wondered, is that a budget thing, and could that be solved by fundraising, or because maybe it'll take 20 or 30 years to get something added to this park like a bathroom? Could be an important thing if the city does want to implement like youth-led programming of any kind here. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a budget issue. A restroom would add many hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of the project, if not more. We are looking at portable toilets. I know that's really not the same thing. But we want to try to keep the idea of a potential future restroom in mind and try to plan for where it would be sited. But it's really not in the cards for us right now. Sorry.
But we appreciate the question, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to go down. The next one on my list is Jake Weens. Jake, what's your question?
Hey guys,
Hey.
excited to be able to get some voice in here finally. Sorry, I've been back and forth with my kids, so I have a chance now. From what I could kind of make out is there's this option of they're separating being a beginner park and more advanced park. One of the things that I've experienced through skating multiple parks throughout California and kind of around the country is that the beginner parks will, unless they have a diversity of terrain and the way that they're used. So for instance, if the beginner area is just a no coping bowl, it will get used for like a tiny bit of time. Like you learn to like roll down and immediately you're like, all right, drop in. It's time to go hit the coping. Like that's just the natural progression of like skating and you want to go to that. So I love the idea of there being a beginner section, but adding that like instead of doing a whole bowl without coping, it's like having there be like some form of like, all right, we got that, let's level up. Right next to it is a 3-foot quarter with coping, and next to that is a berm, or it's like kind of like make that bowl in a sense like some form of a training area. And once it might look kind of weird because there's multiple levels and kinds of coping, but it can act for two things that I found. I've been to a few parks like this in California. Is for beginners, it's more of like, all right, let's learn how to roll in. And then next to that is an actual quarter pipe. Let's drop in. Next, that one's a little bit bigger. And then there's more terrain. And then for more advanced skaters, they can actually use that surface too by transferring from certain areas to other areas. So it kind of becomes more of a multi-use instead of a kind of a, all right, learn how to roll in and then move on. The main concern is having a lot of money and time and square footage spent on an area that will get used for like a tiny bit of time and then immediately transition over. But making it to where it has a little bit more longevity and diversity in terrain could be something fun for anybody and everybody. So that was one of the one things that I kind of picked up on.
Thank you. No, that's really helpful. And so, it sounds like, rather than separating out, beginners go here, intermediate, advanced goes here, making it more integrated into the park. Is that kind of the message?
Having it more integrated. And I guess if it was a separate park, just making it to where it's not just like 300, 400 square feet of a no coping bowl, where it just kind of becomes this like neglected little area that like doesn't get used as much when it's like, oh, we could have used that space and everything with the park. I think that in my personal opinion, just adding a few beginner features in well-placed areas around the main park will both give the beginners more of an excitement of like being in the park. And those features can also be used by advanced riders, whether it be from creating an interesting gap over something into like this small no coping bowl, or jumping off of the top of a quarter pipe and into like a small embankment. That's one thing that any wheeled sport is there for. I mean, all of these sports are built off of observing terrain in an alternate way. So like a skate park might be built for one intent, but every skater's looking at it like, how can I use this differently? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of and when you incorporate those smaller beginner elements into like the main park, like people will see them and say, how can I use that to do something crazy? So yeah, that was my one concern as far as allotting a whole separate area for beginner stuff.
Thank you. That's a really great comment. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, keep moving on here. So let's see. Next on my list is Gabriel Weiss. Gabriel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I just made some notes as you're going through the presentation, so I'll just run down them.
Great.
I think it could be interesting that you might see at a lot of like DIY spots. So we talked about incorporating trees and things into the park. Sometimes you'll see, and it might be, upkeep and maintenance might be an issue, but sometimes you'll see concrete features that go around something like a tree. Or a lot of people that in, which could be like, maybe part of the Evanston feature. We're also a very tree-friendly city here. If we tie that into the park. Next, that noping bowl is, I think, the favorite thing I've seen all night. Do you see me? The noping is, I think, is somebody unmuted? I'm hearing somebody else in the background. It's okay. So that noping bowl, I think rather than thinking about it as a beginner area, by nature of this being a skate park design meeting, you're getting a lot of like the hardcore skater opinion. But I've always just enjoyed surfing on a board. Whenever I would go to a place that had a half pipe, I could never reach the coping anyway. And the bigger and wider, the better, because then I could just carve around it as if it was like that noping bowl. Or like looking at like the California parks, or not even like the schoolyards, to just have a bank that surrounds the schoolyard, and how like the old school original skaters were just using that bank. That's kind of what attracts me to something like that. So it could be, I think it'll get people. And then also like my daughter, I could see her on her scooter. She's 9. She would just roll all around that thing all day, as opposed to never going into the advanced section, I think, ever. I think you'll find a lot of kids on their little bikes that aren't necessarily BMXers, but you're going to get kids at the skate park, and they would love that. And it would separate them out from the rest of the skate park. That said, I voted for C just because the flow of that park is amazing. And even though it doesn't have a separate beginner area, there are enough kind of, I guess, pockets around the park that I could see where if somebody's using it, I'm that, Tuesday morning, don't want to have anybody else there at the park kind of guy. So if somebody's like doing something in one part of the park, there's plenty of other areas where there's banking and bowls and transition and stuff, or just areas to cruise around that we won't be in each other's way. And I like that. One other thing is, you'll often find people going off into the grass or finding an improvised area to try and learn how to ollie. Like they'll put their wheel in a crack of something, or like they'll hold on to a railing somewhere and find something improvised just to kind of practice a trick. And if maybe we can incorporate, I can't really ollie, but I can do it on that playground artificial turf where it's a solid sheet of kind of bouncy rubber. Play on that, no problem, because it grips the wheels just enough that it's not shooting out from under me. But I'm mentally, I know I'm okay if I fall at 42 years old, not worried about that. So just something to consider is incorporating something where maybe by the entrance or the bike racks or the rest area where there's something to grab onto so you can practice your flip tricks, get that footwork down. Or just a pad where you're gonna just not be afraid to fall and break something. It's just something I've noticed with a lot of people. Every video of like the Skate Chicago guy that teaches kids to ollie, they go off onto the grass and improvise a little area. So it's something that's used.
That's great.
Also happy somebody else mentioned the pump track, because I'd love it, but I understand the constraints. And I think the noping bowl could also incorporate some of the similar elements as a pump track, but in a smaller footprint and more diverse. So that's it. Thank you.
That's so great. Thank you for all of those.
I just want to break in real quick here and say, I am totally empathetic to the idea that people want a pump track. And of course, budget is always going to be a limitation. But one thing I think that I have heard, at least, is we've gone through the pre-public engagement. We hired a consultant. There's more public engagement. is a feeling that while it is really great that we are building a skate park that is a dedicated space for people who are interested in wheeled sports, that it is a little bit like step one, and that ultimately a lot of skateboarders would prefer that there's isolated features in other parks where it's not a big skate park, but we have a Raymond Park that has a playground, it has park area and green space, or maybe there's a basketball court such as like Larimer Park, and that skate features maybe just become like another type of amenity that could be added. I think it's really important for people to not lose sight that this is just one project, and that they should consider reaching out to their council members following this project, or saying, hey, we need this at some location that's going to happen, because that is how council members find out what residents want. They only know if you tell them. And so I think most council members will be open to having those conversations, because it takes a while to get any capital improvement project going. It's going to take a while to get a pump track built after this is built. But I don't think that people should just give up hope. Like, there's a process for that, and you should continue to follow down that path.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, I know we've got 10 minutes left, and I see 2 more hands raised. So hopefully we can get through these last 2 here. So the next one I've got on my list here is Joseph Garfield. Joseph, do you have a question or comment?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey everyone, I just raised my hand at the beginning because I didn't think anyone else was gonna, so I was gonna start to like get everyone kind of going. But I really just wanted to point out a couple quick things. Is I think the key word here is having something with a lot of flow. Everyone's been saying it, and it really encompasses what a skate park should be, whether it has beginner parts or not. But I do feel like the key to this is to cultivate skateboard culture more in Evanston and get people who maybe are a bit hesitant to go to a skate park because it looks big and intimidating, to have enough accessible pieces and elements in it to like get kids going and build their confidence quickly, so they keep returning, and they're young and not necessarily the most advanced skaters. They're gonna always find a way to rock a skate park. It's getting the youngsters and the beginners, not even young beginners, but beginners whatever age, to get them to like feel welcome at this spot and like embraced by the skate park. I also just want to bring up that I think, if I'm correct on where the location of this spot is, isn't there the Arboretum is not that far from there, which you can always use the bathroom there, and there's a Walgreens not too far, there's a bathroom there. So if that's ever a concern, I think there's areas in the short term that you could use facilities. That is all. Congratulations, Evanston, for getting this even talked about. I'm dying to see this come to fruition. Congratulations and good job.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate, those are great comments. I love the idea about, cultivating this culture here in Evanston. Okay, we're getting down to the end of my list. I have one more here, hand raised by James Harborough.
There's actually a few more, or I see others, so just
maybe. Oh, I haven't scrolled down. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, James, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, I think it can be really quick, because I think someone sort of said some of the things I was already thinking. I think it was Peter before, I'm not sure, and I know Adam knows this as well, but I think that sometimes like simplicity in skate park design allows for skateboarder creativity, and I think that's sort of an important thing to think about, is that sometimes you can come up with all creative things, but then like that object only has one use, and then that becomes a problem, because that's not the way skateboarders want things to work. And when you have something that can be hit from different angles and can be used by all different skill levels, then you've got a really beautiful place that it creates a community of skateboarders. So when I hear like about a Noping Bowl, I think, oh, that's for like mostly really beginner kids if it's off on its own. When I hear about a volcano, I think like, oh, that's for like real hardcore transition skaters, you know. But like, so it's kind of like you got to find that sweet spot in the middle where it's like there's a simplicity that allows for the skateboarder to kind of bring creativity to the object rather than the object itself to be in itself creative. So I know I don't need to tell Adam that he's you know, been to plenty of skate parks and things like that, but I think it's an important thing to kind of contextualize. The best skate parks I've been to have been the simplest ones that have lots of open spaces and allow me to kind of think creatively about how to use the space differently. So, but thank you so much for all your work. I'm really overjoyed and thrilled.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's a great comment. Also, just for design, I think sometimes the best design spaces are the simplest ones as well. Okay, let's see, I see Quentin has a question. Quentin.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So I wanted to propose kind of an idea I'd thought of to perhaps like solve the noping problem and such. And I was thinking, because we discussed, like, I remember a long time ago in the first few meetings, having like some sort of half pipe thing, and a lot of people seem to really want that. And a lot of people also seem to prefer the concept C without the separate section. So would it be potentially possible to add like a really small add-on to the concept C that wouldn't add too much square footage, but there would just be like, you know, partially like a small mini ramp with like a noping part to it as well. So both the people looking for a mini ramp and that noping type of thing could be satisfied without adding too much space, like a bowl or something like that.
Potentially, it's a great idea. I mean, I think that's certainly something we can look at. I think, you know, when we come back to the next public meeting, we'll have two concepts and they will not be exactly what we've seen here. They'll probably be a blend of what people like the best. But we did hear that people like C the best, but that there are certainly some tweaks that need to be made to that design. So I think that's a great comment. Adam, did you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, I can kind of dress that up a little bit by saying that I think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised and pleased as the design process moves forward. Everybody's comments are heard, and yeah, as long as we get good information and are able to incorporate it into the design, I think everybody's going to be really happy with what they end up with.
Cool. All right, we've got 4 minutes left. I see a hand raised by Patrick Hageman. Patrick, what's your question?
So I just wanted to offer an alternative perspective to some of the beginner, like cordoning off in design B, but also just in terms of like, I've brought my 4-year-old to many different skate parks, and ever since he was basically just old enough to ride a Strider, and the courage that he has in a skate park, it's never lit. Like, I put him in the huge bowl at Wilson and he goes as fast as he can around that thing with whatever degree of control he has. But like being around the people who are doing it at a high level was like exciting for him. He's like, oh man, I'm doing this with the big kids. So I think that the sectioning off the younger kids at first might seem like a great idea until you realize that they may never leave that side because they don't get exposed to the higher level skaters. And then if they are truly engaged by the sport, they'll do it. They'll pursue that and they'll drop in on things that they never thought they could. Huge banks, huge, like, I mean, and none of this stuff is going to be huge. I think the way that you guys designed section 3, there's banks, there's wedges, there's a lot of things for kids to grow on versus putting them off in the side and being like, here, this is your area, don't get crashed into. Because a lot of the mechanics at a skate park are learning how to take turns, how to cooperate with people who do different things than you. Like, you get to build this amazing community and you learn all these different perspectives by being exposed, not by being sectioned off.
That's a great comment. Yes, thank you. I think that's well put. I think that's very helpful. I think we also got through all of the raised hands, unless, does anybody else see one?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did.
That's pretty good at 7:58.
Exact perfect timing.
Yes.
I saw one comment here in the question and answer, can we get copies of the slides today? We're going to post the presentation on the webpage, the city's webpage for the skate park. If you don't need to remember the giant, how to find it, the string. If you go to the city's website, cityofevanston.org, and then the search bar, just type skate park, it's going to come right up. Or you can type in that gigantic string.
Or you can scan this QR code.
Or you can scan the QR code. So many options.
So many.
And that's also a way that you can reach out to us. Someone asked, can I send you a sketch? Like, absolutely, send us an email with additional comments, send us sketches. Give us a day or two to get the slides posted. It's not going to be right now, but we will get that up there for you folks. And then hopefully you made it here today. We're publicizing this through our e-news. We also have a really long list of skate park interested folks that have participated in all of our meetings and in the polls that we've done. So we're sending, hopefully all of that should be going out to you folks about our next public meeting, which is noted here on April 5th. So kind of mark your calendars for that. And we're going to take all this input, and the hope is that we're going to come back with 2 refined concepts. They'll probably be more detailed, and give you folks another opportunity to give us some good comments, so that we can hone in on a final design solution. So I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts to add. Jody, Adam, Laura, anyone?
Just thank you. This really, really helps us tremendously, and we really appreciate everybody's time and attention to this.
Yeah, we definitely do. Thanks for hanging in there with us. I know it's a long process, but we're going to get through it. And at the end, knock on wood, we're going to have a really fabulous skate park for everyone to use, which will be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to. I'm not a skater, but I'm looking forward to watching.
I'll watch next to Stephanie.
I'll be in the beginner section.
All right, so I guess I'll close this out. Thank you again for joining us. We look forward to hearing more from you and to seeing you again at our next meeting. So good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.